Let's just take a quick second to step away from the absolute chaos of our modern world, The constant pings, the rushing, that heavy mental pressure we are all carrying around right now. Today, we're going to explore some incredibly grounding concepts from Darius Foroux's book, Focus on What Matters. Think of this explainer as a chance to hit the reset button. I'll be guiding you through a visual journey to break down some ancient Stoic wisdom, and we're going to apply it directly to the overwhelming reality of our daily lives. Okay, let's dive right into this.
I want you to think back to literally this morning. First ray of sunlight hits, and bam, what happens? If you're like most of us, your brain immediately flooded with a million different things. Worrying about other people's expectations, dreading the traffic on the commute, or checking social media to see who liked what. Because clearly, we need the internet's approval before we even brush our teeth, right? All of this combines into a massive mental pressure that can entirely ruin your mood before your feet even hit the floor. So by letting these external factors dictate your morning, ask yourself, are you effectively handing your happiness over to other people?
All right, Section 1, the illusion of control.
This concept is incredibly simple, but man, is it notoriously difficult to master. It's called the dichotomy of control, an ancient Stoic principle. It basically teaches us that true peace is only possible when we learn to divide the entire world into two distinct buckets, the things that are in our hands and the things that are not. By focusing all of our energy strictly on what we can control and learning to genuinely let go of the rest, we actually protect our inner peace.
Let's bring this down to earth and ground it in our everyday reality. Say you post a photo on social media. You expect likes, good comments, the whole shebang. But what if someone says something mean or people just totally ignore it? You might feel sad or demotivated. But wait, is their reaction actually in your control? No way. What was in your control was your intent, what you posted, and your own reaction to it. It's the exact same deal with a job interview. You entirely control your preparation and your effort. But whether you get hired, that depends on a dozen things you can't control, right down to the interviewer's mood that morning. We waste so much energy getting upset over traffic or someone else's opinion, things that are literally outside our control.
So the crucial point here is this: detach from outcome and attach to process. When you focus on the process, your own daily actions, your own habits, you grow. Every single result, whether it's a harsh rejection or a massive success, simply becomes a learning opportunity instead of a crushing failure. You stop living in a constant state of resistance and start living with real clarity.
Moving into Section 2, Letters to the Self. What's really fascinating about Foroux's work is how it's structured. We're talking short 2 to 4 page letters. These aren't just your standard chapters. They are intimate self-meditations. They tackle the heavy stuff: fear, overthinking, comparison, chasing validation. Reading them feels like sitting down for coffee with a really wise, honest friend. Or honestly, it's like reading the deepest whispers of your own mind on paper. They remind us that our inherent value absolutely does not require constant validation from the outside world. Because when we try to be perfect for everyone else, we kind of lose ourselves, don't we? These letters gently pull us back.
One of the most relatable letters in there tackles the beast that is overthinking. We constantly reanalyze what someone said, or we panic about next week, which totally disconnects us from right now. But there is a super practical remedy for this, and I want you to actually do this with me right this second. Step 1, breathe in. Step 2, pause. Just stop for a second. And step 3, trust the process. You really don't need to have every single answer right this exact minute. It's okay. You're doing fine.
Okay, Section 3. Attention is true currency.
Everywhere we look, we are being pulled in 100 directions. Notifications, news feeds, endless, mindless scrolling. This is what we call digital noise. And let me tell you, it isn't just a harmless distraction. It is quietly and consistently eating away at our clarity, our focus, and ultimately, our lives. But here is the most fascinating insight from the source material. We don't usually succumb to this digital noise just because we're bored. Actually, we do it out of discomfort. When a task is emotionally challenging or we feel a bit anxious, we instinctively grab our phones for a quick emotional escape.
And this creates a massive divide in how we spend our days. On one side, you have shallow work. That's replying to endless emails, switching browser tabs every 2 minutes, scrolling. It leaves us at the end of the day feeling perpetually dissatisfied, staring at a list of half-done tasks. Deep work, on the other hand, requires intense discipline and silence. True inspiration doesn't come from a social media feed. It comes from silence, when your mind is actually quiet enough to observe and create.
You absolutely have to guard your attention like it's your most valuable currency, because every major tech platform out there is actively competing to steal it from you. So here's how you protect it. Make the very first hour of your day highly intentional. Journal, read, or just sit in silence.
do not touch that phone first thing in the morning, or you immediately throw your brain into reactive mode. You're letting the day control you. Create distraction-free zones in your house or office, and honestly, the biggest one, learn to tolerate boredom. If you can just sit through that initial discomfort of being bored without grabbing a screen, that boredom will eventually transform into incredible ideas.
Which brings us to Section 4, using fear as a guide. We all face fear, right? But it's vital to categorize it. Logical fear is totally rational. It keeps you from walking into a fire or jumping out of a moving car. But psychological fear? That's the fear of failure, the fear of public speaking, or dreading what someone might think if you mess up. Most of these fears are literally just fiction. They're stories our minds invent about future scenarios that haven't even happened yet.
Because it's largely just in our heads, Foroux asks us to reframe it entirely. He says, fear is a guide, not an enemy. Just let that sink in for a second. Instead of running away from anxiety, ask yourself, what massive opportunity is hiding right behind this fear? Psychological fear almost always points directly to where your most meaningful growth lies. If you are absolutely terrified of stepping on a stage, that's probably exactly where your potential for self-expression is hiding. Afraid to change careers? Your true freedom might be waiting right on the other side of that choice. Now, Stoicism doesn't demand that you become some completely fearless robot. That's impossible. Instead, it asks you to be courageous. It asks for virtuous action. This means taking steps that align with your core principles, like honesty and bravery, even when your hands are literally shaking. Fear paralyzes us for sure, but taking action, that freezes the fear. The longer we delay, the stronger the fear gets in our heads. Taking just one tiny step loosens its grip. And here's a great tip from the book. Write your fears down in a journal. Just putting them on paper and looking at the reality behind them can literally cut their intensity in half.
Finally, Section 5, living without any regret.
We usually think of regret as just feeling guilty over some past mistake. Actually, scratch that. It's more like a mirror. It's vital feedback. We feel regret when our daily actions suffer a massive mismatch with our deepest values. When we compromise our inner truth just because everyone else is doing it, or to meet someone else's crazy standards, regret quietly builds up in the background. It's an alarm bell pointing to an ignored truth inside us. So how do we reach the end of the day, or the end of our lives really, without wishing we had played it differently? First, you've got to stop living on autopilot. Figure out what your core values actually are. Is it kindness, honesty, growth? Then make sure your choices today actually align with them. Time is the one resource we have that is constantly running out. The absolute worst regrets aren't the mistakes we make. They are the silent regrets of the things we never even tried. The talents we suppressed just to fit in. Live boldly, follow your gut, but act wisely. We've covered a ton of ground in this explainer today, from the dichotomy of control to guarding our attention, facing our fears, and totally aligning our actions to banish regret. All of this Stoic wisdom basically comes down to claiming power over your own mind in a really noisy world. So, as we wrap things up here, I want to leave you with one final provocative question to chew on today. Look at your day ahead. Look at that endless to-do list and the challenges waiting for you. Out of all of that noise, what will you choose to control today? Thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, stay focused on what truly matters.